Ever wondered how everything in our body seems so perfectly balanced? Do you know why people suffer from diseases such as diabetes? Hi, I am Johari, and today I, together with my groupmates, are going to talk about feedback mechanisms. Yes, you heard it right. They are called feedback mechanism. It is the one responsible for internal balance. It is also popularly known as homeostasis, and I am pretty sure everyone here have heard of this word. Now, let's define homeostasis. In biology, homeostasis is the state of steady internal physical and chemical conditions maintained by living systems. This is the condition of optimal functioning for the organism and includes many variables such as body temperature, fluid balance, glucose level, water balance, and many more being kept within certain preset limits or what they call the homeostatic range. Homeostasis is brought about by a natural resistance to change when already in the optimal conditions, and equilibrium is maintained by many regulatory mechanisms. All homeostatic control mechanisms have at least three interdependent components for the variable being regulated. They are the receptor, a control center, and an effector. The concept of the regulation of the internal environment was described by French physiologist Claude Bernard in 1849, and the word homeostasis was coined by Walter Bradford Cannon in 1926. Many diseases are the result of a homeostatic failure. Almost any homeostatic component can malfunction either as a result of an inherited defect, an inborn error of metabolism, or an acquired disease. Some homeostatic mechanisms have been built redundancies, which ensures that life is not immediately threatened if a component malfunctions. But sometimes a homeostatic malfunction can result in a serious disease, which can be fatal if not treated. A well known example of a homeostatic failure is shown in type 1 diabetes mellitus. As I have previously mentioned, there are at least three interdependent components of homeostatic control mechanism. They are the sensor or the receptor, the integrating center or control center, and lastly the effector. If you're wondering about the functions of these three, let's break them down one by one. Firstly, the sensor. It detects changes in the internal or external environment. Basically, they are the monitoring component. An example is the peripheral chemoreceptors, which detect changes in blood pH. Secondly, the integrating center or control center. It receives information from the sensors and initiates the response to maintain homeostasis. In other words, they are the data center that gives signals to the organs or the effectors. The most important example is the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that controls everything from body temperature to heart rate, blood pressure, satiety, and circadian rhythms. Lastly, we have the effector. They are the organ or tissue that receives information from the integrating center and acts to bring about the changes needed to maintain homeostasis. One example is the kidney, which retains water if blood pressure is too low. So basically, the sensors here will detect if my changes some variables are hindi balanced, and then it will go to the integrating center to report the said information, and then the integrating center will give again report or give signals sa mga effector or organs na ito para makapag-adjust. That's just how it works. Now, there are two basic types of homeostatic mechanisms. When a change of variable occurs, there are two main types of feedback to which the system reacts. The first one is the positive feedback. It is a mechanism in which an output is enhanced in order to maintain homeostasis. Positive feedback mechanisms are designed to accelerate or enhance the output created by a stimulus that has already been activated. Positive feedback mechanisms are designed to push levels out of normal ranges. To achieve this, a series of events initiates a cascading process that builds to increase the effect of the stimulus. This process can be beneficial but is rarely used because it may become uncontrollable. A positive feedback example is blood platelet accumulation and aggregation, which in turn causes blood clotting in response to an injury of the blood vessels. Other examples include in nerves, a threshold electric potential triggers the generation of a much larger action potential and events in childbirth. Basically, it's all about enhancing or accelerating. For the second one, we have the negative feedback mechanisms. For the negative one, it reduces output or activity to return an organ or system to its normal range of functioning. Regulation of blood pressure is an example of negative feedback. Blood vessels have sensors called baroreceptors that detect if blood pressure is too high or too low and send a signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus then sends a message to the heart, blood vessels, and kidneys, which act as effectors in blood pressure regulation. If blood pressure is too high, the heart rate decreases as the blood vessels increases in diameter while the kidney retains less water. These changes would cause the blood pressure to return to its normal range. The process reverses when blood pressure decreases, causing blood vessels to constrict and the kidney to increase water retention. In other words, if a positive is about enhancing or accelerating, this time it's all about reducing or opposing. Other examples are thermoregulation, carbon dioxide concentration, and blood sugar level. Also, this one is more popular than the positive feedback. Here is the general sequence of events in negative feedback mechanisms. If an imbalance is detected, then the control center will be stimulated and will respond. Of course, the message will be sent to target organ or organs. Then the target organ will respond in a way that it will oppose or reverse the imbalance. I think we should highlight this word oppose or reverse because that's what negative feedback is all about. After that, the balance will be restored. For further understanding of the two, here is a visual comparison of the two. As we can see in the negative feedback, it maintains the condition within certain limits by opposing or reversing, which is the total opposite of the positive feedback as it's all about intensifying or enhancing. Again, it's self-limiting on the negative and self-perpetuating in the positive. As I've mentioned earlier, negative is more popular or known than the positive one.